Okay. Hi, friends.
Hello?
Let's see. There is about a 10-second delay,
Yeah.
so which is fine. Whatever.
We have to make sure it pops up. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Wait, Emily logged in from the middle of her Bible study? That's some dedication.
Wow, you are dedicated, Emily. We appreciate that. Okay, I'm gonna mute my YouTube. I'm watching it live, so I'm gonna mute it because that's distracting. So, anyways, okay, y'all are gonna see this about 10 seconds after we say it, which is fine.
Yeah.
And yes, okay.
All right, so first things first. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
This is not Zoom, which is kind of fun, a little different. The reason that we're doing this is because we're testing something out. We want to see how this whole live stream thing goes for us, just because we're trying to see what kind of options we have on the table. But before we go any farther, this is kind of important. If something weird happens with the stream,
which is possible,
we're not going to know. And so the easiest way to let us know that something weird happened with the stream is literally just text us. Just someone shoot us a message that says, hey, everything's gone horribly wrong. That's the only way that we're going to know if something's messed up. So with that being said, we are so excited for this. We're so excited to have the opportunity to talk with you guys about some of the things that we're thinking about for next semester. As you all can probably guess, this upcoming semester is not going to be like anything that we have seen as an organization. And we are kind of figuring out what to do with every day that goes by. And the reason that we wanted to have this time to talk with you guys is because Ashley and I just didn't feel like we wanted to be the only ones making these decisions when it comes to completely changing how things are going to be, which that might not necessarily end up being the case, but it's something that we have to prepare for given everything that's going on. So here's the plan. We're going to be talking through some of the ideas that staff has come up with so far and kind of explaining to you guys kind of what we're thinking our meetings are going to look like next semester. And what we need you guys to do is if you have any questions, comments, or anything like that, put them in the comments on YouTube because we can see them and we can put them up on the screen and we can answer those questions or address those comments or whatever. And that's just how we're going to do our interaction. And we just want to see how that works as a method of doing kind of like a Q&A if we decide to go with like a live streaming solution for part of our like ideas in the future.
Yeah. So it will look like this. If you had hopped on earlier, you would have seen I was kind of going through everybody's comments and putting them on there. So whenever you do ask a question or leave a comment, once we get to those, we will be able to put them on the screen so everybody can see it and see who it's from and talk a little bit more about it. So anyways, cool.
Also, we don't expect this being a very long thing, but if for whatever reason you like have to go, we're going to have this saved as a video and then we're going to put it on the Facebook page or get a link to have access to it on the Facebook page. So if you have to leave, don't worry that you're going to miss something.
Don't neglect your Bible study, Emily.
Yeah,
we appreciate you doing
that for
us.
With that being said, I think we're going to go ahead and jump into our first thing. But before we do that, I am going to pray for us and we'll get started.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Dear God, I thank you so much for the world that we are living in right now, where we get to talk to members who are all over the place. God, I've asked this so much in the last month, and I'm going to continue asking that you would give us wisdom, that you would continue us with excitement for what is to come, not a fear of the unknowns, but just a joy to see what you're going to do in a place where things are different, where things look different, where they're not like they have been before. I am so thankful for everyone who's here, everyone who is passionate about our organization and wanting to see it grow and see it adapt to be able to be something that we all love during this time where things are just different. God, we are so grateful that we even have the opportunity to meet as Christian business leaders. We're so grateful that you have given us a university and this group of people that allow us to have our organization. And God, I'm just so thankful for each member and how much they're willing to give. So God, I just ask that as we go through this presentation, as we go through the planning process, that you would just guide it all, that you would be with us, that you would open the doors that we need opened, and close the doors that you don't want us going into. So God, thank you so much for all the gifts that you've given us. And yeah, just continue to help us through figuring these things out. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen. Awesome. Sweet. Oh, we got so many people here. Yay. Thank y'all for joining. And thank y'all for announcing that you are here in the comments. Really appreciate it so we can actually know who is watching and who is participating. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and we're going to share this presentation, this lovely presentation. Let me take that off. There we go. Lovely presentation. Cool. You want to start us off? Or am I doing the first couple of slides?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, cool, sweet. So
do we need to like bang a gavel to start our town hall?
Maybe.
Hear ye, hear ye. The town hall will now begin. Okay, now you can go.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. All right. So, what's the scoop? Things are obviously crazy. As you guys know, this past spring semester did not end the way literally anybody thought. Nobody could have predicted the things that ended up happening. And in a lot of ways, it sucked, but in a lot of ways, it was also a blessing. But with that, it's all led up to this moment where we have to decide what we're going to go do moving forward. So, just to let you guys know, we are trying to stay on top of A&M updates, but A&M, unfortunately, at this time has not provided us with a ton of information to go off of. So this is the information that we know as of right now, but it's also information you probably already know. A&M is limiting classroom usage to about 50%. So the restriction that puts on us is because we are roughly a medium-sized organization with about 100 people. We can only fit in the largest rooms in Wayner, which is either 113 or 114. And we don't necessarily want to bet on that because there are also other organizations that may be going for those as well. So that's just something to keep in mind. A&M is requiring masks on campus. And while wearing a mask is not necessarily a problem, and it is something that we would be very happy to do, it's just not ideal. And so this is a restriction. We're viewing this as a restriction for right now, but it is something that we may have to look at doing. Class schedules have been extended to 8 p.m. And so that greatly restricts if 113 and 114 would even be available for us to use, especially if we're starting our meetings at 7 or 8 or roughly after 8. That's still a big deal. And then we want meetings to be mandatory, but cannot force to meet in person, for obvious reasons. We've talked very heavily, both as co-directors, but also as a staff, that it is so important to us that our entire organization and all of our members feel comfortable and feel safe. And we want to respect that. And so we absolutely still want you to participate in meetings. And we're going to talk about what meetings may look like in the future, but we obviously are not going to force you, nor can we force you to meet in person, which we would never want to do that. We want you to be a part of this organization. We want you to participate. And then we aren't sure that speakers will want to speak in front of a large group of people. So that is also a potential problem moving forward, because we have had a lot of our speakers who are very much in the they're part of the demographic that could potentially be at risk for COVID and all of this stuff. And College Station, obviously, if you don't know, is a little bit of craziness with a huge spike in cases lately. And so I would not be surprised if we had speakers not being willing to come meet in person and speak in front of a large group of people, which is totally fine. The same way that we want our members to feel comfortable, we also want our speakers and anybody who interacts with CBL to feel comfortable and feel at ease and really see our light in all of that. So with that being said, a couple of things that we as a staff have kind of just decided that we're not going to do. We're not going to do Zoom meetings. We all have Zoom fatigue. We're tired of it. It's already been hard enough having all of our classes for the most part on Zoom and online. And so that's just not an option. And then the other biggest thing is that we are not going to violate campus rules. As a Christian organization, we are called to be respectful and obedient to the authorities that have been placed above us. And as Aggies, we need to respect the staff and the faculty's decisions that have been put in place, including all of the restrictions, as unfun and as restrictive as they may be. We're gonna cooperate with them, and we're gonna be who Jesus calls to be. So anyways, that being said, next one, we will not miss the opportunity for everyone to be in the same place each week, which is going to segue us into our potential plans. So let's go for it.
Yeah. So the strike plan. We met with most of staff, everyone who could be there, and talked for a long time about what our options are. And we went through a lot of things, and we kind of came up with a plan that is based on what speakers want to do. So if you want to go to the next one.
Yeah. And
this is the part of our little town hall meeting where things might get a little confusing because there's kind of a lot going on here.
Yeah.
So if you have any questions or if anything is unclear, just let us know. But I'm going to walk through kind of the acting plan that we have right now based on kind of the scenarios of what our speaker wants to do. Because in reality, like having guest speakers is a huge part of what we do as an organization. Because the community and the spiritual guidance, you can find that in church. The other professional development, you can find that in just your business education. But the speakers are something that really allows us as CBL to add like an outside value. And we don't want to just throw that out the window because it's going to be a little bit difficult to plan. So we are going to kind of be figuring out how meeting is going to look each week based on if we have a speaker and what that speaker is comfortable with. So our first scenario is if we have a speaker who wants to come and speak to us in person. If that is the case, we will find a way and a space for us as the entire organization to meet safely and hear what they have to say. Our meetings will operate as normal, where we have a committee time and then we go to speaker session, and then hangout will be after that. So it's going to be straightforward. The difficulty there is obviously that requires a lot of mobility and flexibility for us to find a space that will fit us with like a safe amount of social distancing and making sure that we are safe. We've talked about using church venues and things like that. Pretty much any place that we think will work. We are fully prepared to not have a single meeting that happens on campus this year. Just because logistically, we don't know what getting those spaces is going to be like, because we're just not the only organization on campus. And we're in a fortunate place where we have access to this church community that has spaces all over this town. And we're hoping that through an increased partnership with them that we already wanted to form anyway this year, we'll be able to find ways that we can serve them in return for them helping us out by using their space. But what we recognize is that if we are going to have a speaker and be in person, that we can't be asking speakers to come to someone's home. And we don't really want to be asking speakers to come speak to us like in a park somewhere. We still want that to be professional, and we still want to put a good foot forward to these speakers. And so we want to have a place that they can go that is like a normal location. So if that is the case, if we have an in-person speaker, it's going to be pretty normal. The only difference will be where we are meeting. Now, if we have a speaker, but the speaker is not comfortable meeting with us in person, this is where things kind of get a little exciting. So what we're going to do is we're going to have our committee leaders host their committees either in their homes or in the home of another person on that committee, and lead their committee time from that home. And breaking into committees, like just the committee size, we believe that we'll be able to get safe distances and things like that. And then the reason that we're doing this method of town hall delivery is because we would love to do a live streamed, almost like talk show style Q&A with the speakers who want to come virtually, where we come up with questions to ask them kind of geared at whatever topic we wanted them to speak on originally. And then just give them in between questions 5 or 10 minutes to answer the question and talk a little bit. We feel like that could still add a lot of value, even though we're not meeting with those speakers in person. And using something like this, it would allow our members and committees to submit their own questions to the speakers that we can then throw up on the screen and ask them and have them answer as well. And so we feel like that is still a good opportunity for us to hear from speakers and to learn from them. And it also allows our committees to get more time to spend together, which is something that we have seen as a request from our end of year surveys. People just want more time to be with their committees, which this would allow for them to do. And then the final piece of this puzzle is we would kind of condense the in-between times of our meeting. So right now there's a 45-minute committee time, and then there's this nice long buffer to when the speaker actually starts. But by not needing to move from committee time to the speaker, we could actually condense that down, we believe, into about an hour and a half. And when with that last 30 minutes, what we would ask is that last 30 minutes that you have set aside for CBL meetings that week, that you would go to the place where Hangout is happening. Now, Hangout, whatever the activity is, whether it's, Jeopardy, scavenger hunt, whatever it is, it wouldn't start at, I guess it would be like 8:30, 8:45 by the time people got there. It wouldn't start then. It would still be starting at 9 or 9:15. But that time would be kind of the mingling time that we're used to before the portion of speaker meeting starts. It's the opportunity for all of us to get in a place where we can see people who aren't in our committees and hang out with other members of CBL. Because like we said at the beginning, our worst nightmare is that we go to this kind of virtual distance approach to our meetings, and then we miss one of the best parts of our organization, which is everyone being together every week. Like, we don't want that to happen. And so we think that this is a good solution for people who already have this time set apart. And so we think that this could be a good way for us to get to the same place and be in the same area. And then finally, if there's no speaker, we will still have committees hosting committee times in their home. And what we would do is actually increase the committee time just a little bit to about an hour. And then for the second hour of that set aside meeting, we would just have everyone attend a hangout for that day. So basically the hangout would become mandatory, and then everything would be kind of done by 9. And that way, once again, we get to see everyone. Everyone gets to spend time doing something together. But we feel like the committee leader kind of like satellite structure, we think that it can be a really good solution. And if this live streaming works out as well to have speakers meeting virtually, we feel like we can utilize our ability to be flexible, to still bring that value and still provide members an opportunity to grow and develop community with other people who are in CBL, all while kind of dealing with the limited space restrictions that we are stuck with right now. So that is kind of where we are at with what we're thinking we're going to do for our meetings. And at this point, like, if anyone has any questions about that idea, just let us know.
No, just keep going. Yeah.
And just let us know. And then it'll kind of like, it'll pop up. And if anyone has questions, we'll throw them on the screen.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
But yeah, while you're typing out your questions, if any of them come up, we'll talk about them. But we're going to kind of keep diving into what this means for what CBL would look like for our members this year.
Okay, so yeah, obviously and I kind of mentioned at the beginning, all of this coronavirus stuff and the way that A&M is setting up to be in the fall, it really does affect this entire organization. And so
all of this coronavirus stuff and the way
that
Inception. It's a bit much. Yeah, so this is the way that it's obviously going to affect us as an organization. Paying attention to communication is so critical. Looking at the Facebook page, typically the number of people that end up seeing our Facebook messages is usually about 90 people. So there is about 10% of you guys that don't end up seeing the message.
That was good math.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you. Not an accounting major, but you know what? I can do basic math. Yes, but yeah, so there's about 10% of the people who are a part of our organization who don't see our messages. And so we really, really need everybody to be on top of the stuff that we send out on Facebook, the stuff that we're sending out elsewhere, whether that's emails or whatever. That becomes extremely crucial to you being a part of this organization and actually being connected. So then speakers will be live streamed if members are uncomfortable meeting in person. Absolutely. I've already talked to a couple of people who are going to be doing the rest of school, or at least through the fall, remotely. And that's 100% okay. And we, even in the context of, if we have a speaker, that's totally okay coming and meeting in person, we are still hoping to live stream that for people who are uncomfortable. Because like I said, we want everybody who's a part of this organization to actually feel a part of it and feel heard, and feel that we are not putting you guys in a hard spot to make a decision that you shouldn't have to feel forced to make. We want everybody to be a part of this organization without feeling uncomfortable and unsafe. And then all non-mandatory events become incredibly valuable for spending time with members. This is absolutely crucial. And they're for the people who are doing things remotely, doing school remotely, and for people who may be feeling safe. This is something that we may have to explore and look at options for you guys. But this is so important. Doing any events, whether it's a party or a tailgate, I don't even know what that's going to look like, but anything that we do, outside of the fact that, oh, thank you. Hunter said, I hereby declare Ashley as an honorary accounting major. Thank you so much, Hunter. I learned it all from you. But yes, anyways, all of those things that we do outside of the context of Thursday night meetings become absolutely crucial. Rachel and Peyton are our prayer execs, so they're obviously going to be doing prayer meetings as well as Bible studies. That becomes even more important. It's always been important, but it becomes that much more important to have an opportunity to fellowship with members that you're not getting to see on a regular weekly basis because of our situation. So anyways, just keep all of that in mind, and really think about how you can be more involved. Because you need to be more involved this upcoming semester in order to really feel a part of this organization. And we're all going to feel it. And we as staff have talked about that and talked about it's going to take a very intentional effort from everyone, including our members, for this to feel not necessarily normal, but for this to continue to feel like an incredible community that it always has been. So yes, continuing on.
Yeah, there are other things that we have talked about. Other ideas we have considered, and if people feel like they would be better options, like we're open to them. We just felt like the plan that we've presented to you guys is the one that would be the best for us. But we talked about increasing dues. That would be what that would end up being is probably like a $15 increase in both semesters. But what that would allow us to do with that extra income is to permanently pay for a space from a church. While we feel like we can be able to ask churches if we can kind of one-off use their spaces, if we were going to ask a church to be using a space week after week, they would probably ask us to pay to rent out the space. And if we were going to do that, we would need to increase dues a little bit just to cover that. And we would do that by kind of like splitting the due increases between the two semesters. So that's something that we talked about, trying to find a more permanent location solution. But as I mentioned earlier, I think that we could operate really well under the satellite kind of method, as long as we're continuing to find ways to all meet together. Another thing that we talked about is using the non-speaker days and those committee times as almost like a committee-led book club where we would go through some sort of like a business book curriculum that may have an aspect of like faith to it, but mainly would be focused on business development and growth, just so that there's still value added in those meetings when we don't have speakers. We, first of all, believe that there's a ton of value in us just having longer committee times and meeting at Hangout. But we also recognize that like our Thursday night meetings are when we really get to bring development and growth from a business perspective through speakers and stuff like that to our members. And so if we wanted to try and do that, we could do something like a book or video combination. Our hesitance there is we understand that a lot of people really enjoy that you can just show up on a Thursday ready to learn, not having to think about anything during the week. And we wouldn't want you to feel like your organization that you chose to do for fun is giving you homework on top of all the other stuff you have to do for school. And that was kind of where we were hesitant with that. But we could see some really cool things coming from this. It would allow us to facilitate conversations with other people where it would be really easy for us to talk to people in our class and say, this is like something that I've been talking about from a business development perspective, but that allows you to get conversations started about what you do, what you're involved in, and just lead conversations to be more gospel focused, which is kind of why we thought that could be a cool idea.
That's also a plug. Just saying, like, this is Christian business leaders. This is a plug for professional development. And going back to the last slide, attending and being a part of events outside of regular Thursday night meetings, not only does that apply to prayer nights and Bible studies, as well as parties and events, which are like super fun. Professional development adds a really important component to who we are as an organization. So this is an opportunity for us as an organization to step up and really be intentional about that time professionally developing together. Sorry.
Right. And the last thing that we had talked about was kind of doing a more localized version of satellite committees where each committee kind of goes to their own smaller room in Wayner and they stay there, and we still do kind of like the live streamed meeting. But what we could do with that is when we had speakers come in, they would go and present to one or two committees in person. And then the rest of the committees would watch kind of like a live streamed video of that speaker presentation with any questions that they had, kind of the same idea being brought to the speaker. Our only hesitance there is I personally believe that we're just not going to be able to find that much space, given the increased class times and the extended schedule or whatever, and just having to be at 50%. I just don't know how easy that would be for us. And I think we can kind of do the same thing from houses.
It's more fun. You can eat snacks at houses too.
Right. And we also might find that when we get into actually trying to book spaces for speakers who might want to come and speak in person, that we have to do something like this anyway, where we only have the capacity for 2 or 3 committees to actually go and be there with the speaker, and the rest do the satellite paying attention from a live stream instead. And we would just kind of rotate that so that everyone has the opportunity to be in person. But that's just something that we aren't going to know until we have all of our speakers locked down. And at the end of the day, this is going to take a lot of, we've already talked with our staff about this. This is just going to take a lot of preparing and pre-planning, because the more that we can have locked down, that means the less change and chaos we have to be updating people about week to week. And the more that we can restrict that, I think the smoother the process will be. But that is pretty much what we have come up with. And so now we are all yours. Really, the biggest reason that we wanted to have this meeting is because Ashley and I are just 2 people, and we didn't want to be the ones just like stating how things were going to be. We wanted to get opinions and input from everyone, because it's not our organization, it is our organization. And we wanted to make sure that everyone felt like they heard kind of what we were thinking and had a chance to like give their thoughts. So that's what this is for. Like, we don't have anything else to talk about. So if you have any like thoughts, ideas, questions, whatever, throw them in the comments and we will talk them. If you need anything to be clarified, we can do that. But yeah, that's all the like prepared things that we have for you guys.
Yeah.
So I think we'll just sit here and
yeah, there's a little bit of a
out.
delay. So if we don't see your question
Yeah.
right away, that's why. Yeah, and I'll take this down. Woohoo.
Other than that, we're just gonna have to hang out here and wait.
Just
wait
hang
for
out
questions to come.
awkwardly for questions.
Yeah. But it's stuff like this that we have to figure out anyway for doing live streams with speakers. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Don't be shy.
Okay, Lizzie asked a question.
Okay.
I don't know if it's come through yet.
It'll come up in a second, and then
I'll start talking about it. What will new member application process look like in the fall? That is the question. So step one of that is, what is recruiting going to look like? We are fortunate that a lot of our recruiting comes through Impact Ministry Fair. And as of
I was from Impact.
Yeah, and as of right now, Impact is still happening in person, and they're not removing Ministry Fair from that. And so we are not really thinking like that's our biggest place that we do recruiting. So if we are going to have that, then that will kind of look the same. As you guys know, they haven't really said anything about Howdy Week, MSC Open House. There's the All Maze organizational chat that we've done in the past that we have no information about, which, I mean, we didn't really have any information about that until a week before it happened when things were normal anyway. So we might just know that the day before. But we have a good MD team, and they're going to figure out how to do recruiting in this virtual place. And then after that, obviously the application itself is going to look the same. We'll have people fill out an application and submit it to us. And then we will be doing interviews like normal. As of right now, we are not sure if those are going to be in person or virtual interviews.
That could potentially be the one thing we do on Zoom, but we are trying to avoid it.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out what we think will be the best for our members, what will be the most comfortable, and also what will allow them to really give us like a picture in the interview of who they are. And so that's kind of what we're looking at there. What we were talking about today, and this is like full disclosure, there's still a lot of this that we haven't figured out the details for. What we were talking about today was that the first like 3 or 4 meetings of CBL, we don't have committees. And so we don't necessarily know what the kind of breakout thing would look like. So there are a lot of the like very particular things, like what exactly that application process is going to look like, that we don't know right now. And we're just going to have to see when it comes time to make those decisions, what is the state of the world that we're in. We're at a place right now where it kind of feels like things are starting to close back down. And so we don't know what things are going to look like the second week of school, third week of school, when we would be doing these interviews. But our biggest goal is to make sure that all of the applicants feel comfortable, that they know who we are and what we stand for, and that they have an opportunity to just introduce themselves to us and show us who they are. And we don't want virtual or in person to be any kind of a restricting factor in like who we are looking at as our new members.
Sweet.
But that's a good question.
Megan, would speakers have the option to present on a topic like normal, or would it just be a Q&A? We definitely want speakers to continue to present like normal. It would just obviously be a very different format. And then I think us putting an emphasis on the Q&A is more to stress that the Q&A process would potentially look very different. Obviously, it would probably look like what we're doing right now, where we would put the questions on the screen and have the speaker give them an opportunity to speak. But we would hope that we would just do normal presentations. Yes. Oh my
right.
gosh.
And I think also
Emily, thank you.
we would, with all of our speakers, I think there's already kind of an idea of what we're hoping that they will talk about. And so I think that we would have, when I think of like the Q&A style, sort of what I was thinking is that in sort of like a talk show manner, the speaker already knows the kind of preset questions that we're asking them, and they are all led and directed to allow them to present and talk on the thing that we wanted them to talk about. So it would be just like the first question, rather than the speaker in person getting up there and being like, hello, my name is John Smith. This is who I am. This is what I do. Like, this is my family. It would be like one of us or Tyler saying, okay, it's like good to see you. Thank you for joining us on the stream. Tell us about yourself. And so it ends up being the same thing with kind of preset questions that sort of make the live streaming on a screen thing feel more comfortable than the speaker having to be in wherever their office is or wherever they're recording the live stream, like wherever they're streaming from, instead of them just talking to a screen and waiting for questions to come through. We want to have there be one of our members constantly kind of interacting with them to make them more comfortable than just like talking to a screen for 45 minutes, if that makes sense. So it would be Q&A in the sense that there would be kind of a question and an answer asked, but they would already be kind of pre-written questions only for the first, like the beginning of it. And then obviously at the end, we would take community questions kind of thing to then like get the input of CBL. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it did.
All right.
Sweet. Okay, Daniel's question, are meetings still Thursdays at 7? How will that work with A&M's classes going until 8? To be honest, we haven't had much of a discussion on this because A&M, as far as I know, has actually not officially changed any schedules yet. Mine has not changed. Has yours?
Yeah, we don't really know what we are going to do about that because we don't want people to like have to stay out super late. That's going to be one where we just kind of like, I mean, we have, and I don't like saying this because it would be like an every week thing, but we have times where there are tests that overlap with meetings already. And it's just, it kind of is what it is. What I would hope is that if classes are going until 8, if people are stuck in class until then, and they're not stuck in class, they're having the time of their life in class. If they're having the time of their life in class until then, they would still be able to see the speaker. And that's like, and then commit, like being a part of their community, they would just have to catch up. But that's a hard question. And I think it's also going to depend on, yes, they said they're extending the schedule that late, but we don't know practically how many classes are going to be going at, the 7 to 8 window on a Thursday evening.
Yeah.
And we're not going to know that until things kind of like happen until we get there. But that is a very good question.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll update y'all when we know more and all of that. So, okay, sweet. JJ, are we limiting new members or capping numbers to a smaller percentage? No, we weren't planning on it.
I don't think so. With the size of our organization, like the size of our organization right now works. And I think that this is something that we have kind of constantly had to remind ourselves of as we are talking about making these changes. Everything inside of us wants to believe that this is a 1 semester change.
Mm-hmm.
And so we don't want to make any decisions like that kind of affect the way that CBL will look for the next 4 or 5 years, when we're just trying to make sure that we're prepared for this semester that we know is going to look different. And we are fingers crossed that the semester following and into the future, it's not going to be any different. Mm-hmm. So we wouldn't want to reduce our number of new members for this 1 semester and this one thing that we have to deal with, only for then to things go back to normal. And we have this like weird kind of gap year of a very low number of new members. Because there is like a really healthy pattern of having like about the same size of new members who can grow through the organization and step up into leadership positions and try different committees and bring ideas from one committee to another. All of that is really healthy. And we feel like having smaller numbers of new members kind of takes that natural growth away. So we don't have any plans of lowering our size or reducing the number of new members. I mean, naturally, we are fully prepared that we might have a lower number of applicants just because of how we're going to have to do things. But we don't really anticipate needing to lower the number of new members.
Mm-hmm. Megan said, I believe schedules come out on July 6th. Thank you. I hope that they do come out on July 6th because that would make my life much easier. Any other questions? Please send them our way. I think we'll call it quits in about 5 minutes. So feel free to just leave us comments, ideas, anything.
Trying to think if there's anything else we can talk about. If you're not on it, there's a CBL summer page where basically Grant just tells everyone to play tennis. So if you don't like playing tennis, but you like watching people play tennis, you should join the CBL summer page and come hang out with us while we're in College Station.
Correct.
We do fun things sometimes.
I may have a movie night here at this house. Maybe next week or something like that. Yeah, just a little shout out.
Okay. I get down for a movie night.
Heck yeah, dude. I don't know what we'd watch. Probably Disney or The Simpsons. That's my latest craze. Isn't that terrible?
I'm just not really my cup of tea, you know?
Oh, I'm obsessed. It's so funny. Oh my gosh, Emily, you're so sweet. I miss you. Wow. I didn't. Not individually, we didn't think of a lot, but we talked with our staff and our staff had a lot of really insightful things. So, yeah.
Yeah. When we first met, it was basically like just a list of problems and like, yes, that is a problem.
Yeah.
Cool.
We literally talked for 2 hours.
Yeah. Just coming up with problems.
Yeah. Just
very
coming up with problems.
Small numbers of solutions, but we got in there.
Yeah. And let's see. Oh, who posted what?
Yes. Emily, that is a good idea. I think what we are hoping is that as we're doing the set Q&A portion, we could have committees starting to submit like questions as they have them. Mm-hmm. So then whoever's kind of like the question asker of that can see the questions that are coming through and ask them when it gets to the point where those questions have run out. Because I don't know. I think that interacting with the speaker in the live streaming service, those people won't have a delay, right? It's just the delay between the streaming service and YouTube.
Yeah, it's typically just a 10-second delay in between us and YouTube. But as far as like if we had to guess, there would not be a delay with us talking to somebody. That would be like a FaceTime thing. But yeah, absolutely, Emily, you are 100% correct. And that's why it's a little bit odd. And that's the disadvantage of doing the live stream because there is a lag versus if you did do Zoom, there's very much so not a lag. And if so, it's like a 1 second lag. So that is something that we talked about and considered, but there is something a lot more official. And it's weird. It's like a church service would not be the same on Zoom. Like you live stream a church service, right? It feels more official. It feels more professional. And
it's actually more holy. It's like biblically more holy to live stream than Zoom.
Exactly. It says live stream. So you're living. So anyways, so that's our purpose behind that. We want to be more holy.
Yes. That's the only reason.
Yeah. And then another advantage of doing this, not that Zoom can't also do it, but we can also record this and have this in a place on the internet permanently. And so people can go back and look at it. Another advantage of live streaming, and we talked about this in our staff. I talked ad nauseum about live streaming in our staff meeting because this person knows who this person is. And so this person brought up this idea and I talked ad nauseum about it. So my staff is so tired of me talking about live streaming. But a really cool thing about live streaming is that we can actually live stream to a Facebook page. So it can still be exclusively for CBL members, or we can just stream it onto YouTube and have it unlisted. So only people with the link can watch it. So it can still be exclusive to CBL members, or we can make it public on YouTube, and anybody who wants to watch it, especially if we have an open meeting, anybody that wants to watch it can participate. So you could send this to your family, you could send this to whoever, and anybody could join and watch it. So I think that's an advantage to doing this, is our outreach and our influence could go a lot farther than just CBL. But at the same time, we want to be cognizant of the fact that this is an exclusive organization, and we pay dues to be a part of this organization and a part of this family. And so we want to keep that in mind. So anyways, that was a long tangent. But if there are not any other questions, we have not received any more. So I think we can call it a day on this. I'll pray us out and we'll be done.
Yeah.
Awesome. Oh, God, thank you so much for this time. Thank you for this awesome technology where we just get to try and test things out for the fun of it, to see if this is something that is an option for us moving forward as an organization, Lord. Man, I can't thank you enough for this incredible organization and the people that are part of it. It's such a gift, and we want to be good stewards of that gift. Both as Christians and just as an organization. We really want to enjoy this fellowship that you've given us with one another, and that fellowship may look extremely different moving forward in the fall. But God, I just pray that you bless that you provide insight and wisdom and discernment on how to best have fellowship and glorify your name above everything else, Lord. And man, I just thank you for this time. I thank you for the people that are watching this and that will watch this later. I pray that you just set our hearts on fire for you, and that, that any hindrance within my heart, within anybody in this organization, Lord, that any hindrance towards these new ideas and this new structure is just wiped away, that we have an open mind and open heart, and just let go of all expectations on what we would do, and just give it over to you, Lord, and that your will would be done through this, and that at the end of the day, above everything else, that your name would be known and your name would be glorified. We are so thankful for you, Lord. We're thankful for your Son and everything that you're doing in and through us and for us every single day. The things that we see and the things that we don't see. I pray that you just make us more cognizant of that in and outside of this organization, Lord. Again, I just thank you for this awesome time to talk about these new ideas and this new structure. And in your holy, holy name we pray. Amen. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. This is going to be up permanently on YouTube. And so we will probably share the link or something later for people who did not get to watch it. But otherwise, y'all have a great night, and we will talk to you later.
Yeah. Farewell.
Bye.
I don't know how long I have to